Hello and welcome to Table for Five with no reservations. Take a seat at the table for a fresh, sweet, salty, tart, and pleasantly bitter conversation.
Thank you for taking a seat at the table. Tonight we're going to be talking about self-care versus survival. How do we do it? What self-care means to us and what that looks like in special needs parenting, mothering, just being a human in general. Tonight I have Jen Dunn from Vancouver, British Columbia.
Hello.
Kim McIsaac from Boston, Massachusetts.
Hey.
Jamie Ramos from Denver, Colorado.
Hello.
And Rachel Flanagan from St. Paul, Minnesota.
Hey, everybody.
And myself, Tabitha Cabrera from Phoenix, Arizona. So who wants to start on this lovely topic of self-care and how we feel about it?
Oh, I'm happy to. I have to say, I used to work in the spa and salon industry, and I used to promote pre-booking your next appointment for 4 to 6 weeks. And to all of those folks listening that know me from that Ville, you should continue to book for 4 to 6 weeks. But I have to tell you, my haircut last was done with an orange scissors in front of my bathroom mirror with tears running down my cheeks because I was trying to cut my hair so my kid couldn't grab it. Like, a massage is this once a year thing because I can't do life any longer. And I just need to go sit and pay someone to allow me to be quiet. I find self-care in cleaning the corner of my kitchen counter where I can bend over it in a particular way and feel like I've been to the chiropractor. I can crack this one rib that is always a cockamamie sitch, making my back hurt from just my kitchen counter. I feel like my best self-care is talking to you guys and finishing a hot cup of coffee, still hot.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's not walks in the park right now. It is not sleeping in.
I read this article that someone had wrote. I don't know where it was, but it was basically about how we shouldn't say that a hot cup of coffee or a hot shower or a simple walk is self-care. And I was like, what? That I live for
deodorant and toothpaste is that self-care?
Yeah, I was like, I live for a hot cup of coffee. That feels like self-care to me. Catching the sunset with a warm cup of coffee before my kids get up in the morning. Are you kidding me? That is a beautiful way to start a day. That feels like self-care to me right now. Don't tell me that's not self-care. It's like a challenge. I think also too, it feels a little bit like if you aren't doing it the way that it's presented, like taking a trip to the salon or finding time to work out, which I do like to do and have not been doing since December. But things like that, if you can't find the time, it almost feels like you're failing in another department of your life, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I feel like I can take moments of wellness and like mindfulness and feel sustained a little bit longer by doing that. And I'm not serious that that's self-care, like a haircut in the bathroom. But these little moments of wellness are like the only thing that I can fit in. It's what it is.
Yeah.
I think self-care has become like a trend word, you know, like it's almost become like a fad. And I know that sounds ridiculous, like, because obviously we need to take time for ourselves. I'm not saying that, but like, and the first thing anybody says is like, well, you need to take time for yourself. Well, you need to focus on self-care. And it's like, well, no, when you have even just children, never mind special needs children, make it that much harder because you can't just leave them with anybody. You can't just, it almost becomes this pressured thing now where it's like, and sometimes self-care is great, but like at what cost? You know what I mean? It's like you take self-care and then your kid's freaking out and like hurting other people in the house or hurting themselves, or then you have all this other stuff to deal with. Defeats the whole purpose of it. Being a mom of 4 kids, one with special needs. When I was home, my husband wasn't here, so I didn't have anybody. Like I couldn't just like run off. And even now, like the one thing I do for myself is get my nails done. But even that's a challenge because you got to have the money and the time at the same time and not be too exhausted to do it. Because sometimes I'm like, I just can't even think of sitting. And I like the end result of having my nails done. I don't necessarily like the process of it, even though it's self-care. Like, it's not really time I'm enjoying. I enjoy having my nails done. Like that's just like the only really thing I do for myself. But I mean, to me, self-care is just like staying up late and watching TV, like after the kids are in bed and nobody's bothering you, or being on the, being on a call with you guys. And even though even that self-care comes with a cost because now I'm 2 hours later than I really should be, or more.
Six.
And it's like it causes
6 hours later.
there's just like a consequence to it sometimes. So then now you're exhausted. So it's like, I'm the person that will always choose to stay up late and have that like mental break. I need that. It just feels like it's always like a give and take. I used to sometimes just not come in my house when I pulled up from work for like a half an hour.
Yes.
I'm just sitting right here in the driveway because I just
Nothing
need
wrong
that.
with that, Kimmy. Nothing wrong with
I
that.
need that refresher before I go from my work life to my home life. It just seems like it's turned into this crazy thing. Obviously is important, and whatever that is. If it's just sitting in a chair and looking at your phone mindlessly for a half an hour, if you get to do it, or not doing the chores while the baby's taking a nap, it's like sometimes you need that time for yourself, kind of like recharge your mind. But I feel like it's just kind of become this like whole thing, and it's like, who's coming up with this stuff? Like it's like, do you have a nanny? Do you have like unlimited money? Like, I don't know, like, do you have unlimited hours of sleep? My kids are older, so it's not really the childcare part too much, but it's even just having the energy to go and do something for myself. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to the store. Like, I don't want to get up and go somewhere. Poor me, I know, but
What about you, Jamie?
Well, everyone interprets self-care differently. I think for me, who has two kids, one is autistic, the other is 2 years old. For me, like self-care is like basic hygiene right now in my life. So I'm like, okay, sure, that's self-care for me. I have friends that are like, oh, I have to go get my hair done. I have to go get my nails done so I can feel right. Or they get ready every day, which is like, whoa, insane to me. I'm like, I might be clean, but I'm not putting on makeup every day because then I have to wash the makeup off at night. Like, there's no way. Like, that's just not to me
no,
right
you
now in my
don't.
life. To me, in my life right now, that's just like not happening. Like, I'm too busy. Like Kim was saying, it's usually me just staying up too late and then being exhausted the next day because it's like, I'm alone right now. Like,
Yes.
I can actually be alone. So that's huge to me. I kind of agree with Kimmy. I think it's just like this fad right now to say, like, oh, self care. And it's like an excuse to show off what you had done or where you went shopping. And for us women who are kind of in the weeds and we're in survival mode, it's like, good for you. That's not the self care I get. I barely get like the basic hygiene stuff I was talking about. I shared with you ladies earlier article about how special needs parents should get self care, and it was like, find someone to babysit while you go pick up the groceries. Like,
We
I
should
wouldn't
look
consider
into the
that.
person who wrote that.
That's not self-care. I don't want to go grocery shopping for
Exactly.
my self-care. Are you kidding?
It's just kind of laughable to us, like, and to people who can do that, great. When you can go to the salon once every couple weeks, when you can do this, I don't know, like for me, it's like a hot, like 15-minute bath some nights. It's staying up way too late, chatting with you guys or reading a book. It's talking to my husband without someone screaming at us. That's self-care for me.
Yeah. What about you, Jen?
So I agree with Kim. It's a buzzword, and it's to me, it literally gets under my skin because I feel sometimes like it's always that comparison thing. I mean, I wish I had the luxury. Now, I will say I do have a nanny for my daughter, so I can do those things after work. I don't like taking the extra time, so it's hard. Sometimes I'll have a sitter on Saturday for a couple hours. I have, as you ladies know, diagnosed severe OCD. I shower compulsively, so my fingers and my feet crack. And so I actually go once a week. I just get all the skin cleaned up. So, but it's not like it's as luxurious, relaxing. And I have that guilt because my daughter's been with a sitter. So I want to get home to her. And also it costs me more money to get a manicure because I'm paying somebody by the hour, and it's that feeling of, being torn. But yeah, self-care, getting to take a bath, Jamie, like you said, just that second of downtime to yourself, which you don't get a whole lot of. So I struggle with it. And I struggle with not being bitter about it.
Yeah. I think too, like for me, I've never been that really like spend 2 hours getting ready type of girl. I'm more like in and out, maintenance, very low maintenance, same makeup routine probably for the past 30 years. I don't know, since I started wearing makeup. I do like getting my hair done. I do like, getting a facial is the most glorious thing on the planet when you can, that kind of girly stuff. But for me, like self-care prior to having kids, or when I was feeling lost in life, is spending time with friends, sitting by a campfire, being in nature, connecting with things that aren't necessarily like go to the grocery store and shop. Please, Lord.
Which
Don't.
feels like a vacation, by the way, when you don't have your kids or kids. I literally walk in like, I'm ready. And I just I go up and down every aisle. I mean, I just take my time. I love it.
Yeah.
Literally one of my favorite things to do is to go to the grocery store and not be panicking about something.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that, because like that was literally one of the things I used to do, like when my kids were little. Like I'd go to the store and they'd stay home with my husband, and it was like,
take your time.
I was like, yeah, it was like I used to love
That's
it.
even
Like,
before they
when
had
you
coffee shops.
always have to have kids with you in the grocery store, and then you get to be in the grocery store without children. It is like,
That's
literally
it.
is like a vacation.
Like a
Now,
vacation. Yes.
Now it's a face worse than death. Like now me and my husband fight over who's going to the store, who's staying in the car, and who's running in. I even try to send my daughter, who's 16. I'm like, here, I'll text you what we need. You can run it.
I think the guilt part is so, because I do that. Like I go to Target and I just walk around, and then I'll realize it's been like almost an hour, and then I feel guilty that I've left my husband with the kids so long. I think how Jen was talking about the guilt thing, that's such a big part of it, because it's like, oh, I haven't seen my kid for this whole time, or my husband in my case worked all day, and then now he's taking care of the kids so I can walk around Target and spend more money than we have, kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is go out to eat at places where people serve you food, and you don't have to make it, and you don't have
and
dishes.
then they do the dishes.
Yeah, and you just leave with like extra food. It's incredible. That's my favorite self-care at this point in my life. If I get the chance to go out to eat, which we haven't done much over the past year, but the lighting's beautiful, the smells are great, there's no one making noises,
drinks are full.
Yeah, and even if they are making noises, that's okay. Clinking glass, like all of those things. Maybe I should just start imagining myself at restaurants and use that as self-care instead.
It's so funny because that's the one thing that me and my husband kind of do. And now that restaurants are getting busier again, I find it so annoying. And we were out to breakfast the other day, and like I'm like, this person, I'm like, why do they talk so loud? They're ruining my self-care. It's like, I mean, I have a conversation at my table and nobody else can hear me. And I have a big mouth, so I don't understand. It's like, I liked when like the restaurants are at like 25% capacity, and it was like, everyone was like much less from that.
Well, and I feel that so much with the energy, like what you're talking about having the energy, like you're putting in so much energy all day long. If you're home with the kids, if you're working, you have a spouse or not, whatever the case may be, the energy going outward is so much. By the time you have time to even remotely think about what you're going to do for yourself, you're like, oh my God, that takes so many steps. Like even taking a bath, I'm like, I have to fill the tub, take my clothes off, sit in it, dry myself off. Like that's like 20 steps.
A lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work.
Jen makes it look really easy, but I don't know how she does it.
Yeah.
Well, plus, like, I mean, come the weekend, Saturday and Sunday go by very quickly.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of time really to do that stuff. So
yeah, I
think that's the whole Saturday, Sunday thing is a farce too, because for us, our kids are super used to structure and all of the things. Even when we're doing well, you can feel every hour of a Saturday and a Sunday in this bill. I'll tell you that. It is like goals Sunday night. I'll say that I had a family therapist that Billy and I were seeing for a while challenge me to use each room when I cleaned it and finished. Like I would clean the kitchen and clean the dining room table. And instead of just on to the next, I would just sit there in it for a minute. And even 1 to 3 minutes, even 7 minutes, even sometimes when I got into something and sat for a whole 20. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's like using each room as I cleaned it afterwards. It just felt like it wasn't just for my household. Like it was a moment for myself. I'm like, hey, look what I just did. Let's enjoy this for a second before somebody Play-Dohs it and glitters it and leaves the damn trash on the counter.
Yes. All the toys, all the things everywhere. I think too, when you're talking about all the people in your house too, like I don't know, for me, I'm always thinking about everyone else. It's so hard to focus on yourself, even though you should. Like, definitely, like, we should be doing these things for ourselves of some kind. But the idea that you would use that mind space when you have a checklist of 800 other things you have to do for other people, it's just like I constantly have a task list going, like kids need to get up, they need fed, they need to school, we need to go to work, then we got to go home, we got to do dinner, we got to do bedtime. All of that takes up 14 hours of your waking hours of the day. And then you have like 1 hour. And what are you going to do with that? One
Call
to
the
three.
ladies.
Yes.
I think for me too, saying no, I need to do for self care. I say yes to a lot of things. You guys have probably noticed that, but I'm like, I could do that. Sure. Yes, I'll do that. Like, I say yes to way too much. And I think especially over COVID, I did that because it's like, well, there's nothing else going on. There's a pandemic. I can do this and this and this. And then, especially now that we're coming out of that, like some of the commitments I've made, I'm like, ooh, probably should have said yes to this. So, like, saying no would just be self care for me. And I think also in our situation too, like, our kids have never really been babysat from anyone outside of our family, especially my son. I couldn't imagine unless they were skilled and I was paying them a good amount of money, especially in his younger years, leaving my child with them. So I think too, I think that's a different thing for a lot of people is like, oh, do it, make sure you're doing date nights all the time to keep your marriage lively. And it's like, well, if a date night is 11 p.m. and watching one episode of The Office and passing out, we're
Then
all
check.
over it.
Yeah.
But and then besides that, it's like my husband goes and do something, I go and do something. So
That's important
like,
too, though.
yeah.
Having your separate stuff between.
Now I look back and I feel terrible because when I was home for a long time and I'd be home with the kids. Literally, you feel like you're in prison. A lot of times I couldn't go anywhere because when the girls were little and then Alyssa was a handful, I couldn't really go a lot of places by myself. So then once my husband got home, I was like, okay, let's go. We're going to go here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Now looking back, I'm like, he must have wanted to murder me. I mean, he did get aggravated. It was like the second he got home, I wanted to be like, okay, let's go. Like, I want out of this house and not necessarily by myself, but like all of us to go. And now that I work, a full-time job for a long time now, but I'm like, oh my God, because that's the last thing once I get home, the last thing I would want to do is like go back out. I was saying to him before, I'm like, oh, he's like, yep. And I'm like, oh, sorry. In my defense, I had a lot going on in the house by myself.
Yes. 4 small children. Lord almighty, that's a lot of stuff going
And
on.
especially in the times where like I couldn't do things, even go into a store or something like that. Or there was just phases where like she would get upset if we like ran errands because she would like, if we were going in the car, she wanted to go somewhere worthy of her time. And like stopping at like Dunkin' Donuts and, dropping somebody off here and coming back was not like her idea of a good time. So then she would get so mad. So like I would have to try to kind of like avoid those things. I didn't know what that the opposite side was like though, now I know. Now once I go home, I don't want to go anywhere. I
Yeah.
want to go places only in my mind. The reality of like doing these things are like, oh my God, because I'm always like, I want to do this and we should go here and we should take the kids here. And then like I'm like, oh no, maybe next weekend.
I struggled with that so much, especially when Nixon was little and Nora was new. I had all these expectations for what our life should look like as far as going out and just doing. And my husband, I don't know, like I forgot who I married or something because he's like an introvert ish. I mean, he can be extroverted if he needs to be, but like the idea of us going to someplace huge in Phoenix where you have to pay for parking and you have to find a parking spot. Then you have to wrangle the kids in the stroller, 47 bags because they're both in diapers, like this whole scenario. And I always thought that was a good idea. And then and then we'd be exhausted by the time we got home. It never went well. I'm like
Sweating and fighting.
Yeah, it was
He's
terrible.
on to something.
Yeah, he's onto something. Yeah.
Always just like, you got to get these ideas out of your head. Always said it to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, because it's like you see it or you see these pictures, but like that picture is like one snapshot of like that day that could have been a terrible day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, you're like, well, all these other people do it. Like, I want to bring the kids apple picking or I want to do this. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but like sometimes it's just like, like you said, the reality of like the follow through of those ideas are not what you have in your mind.
Well, and I think it's the same when you're thinking about doing things for yourself. Like you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is going to be so relaxing. I'm going to go to the salon or I'm going to go to the spa. And then it's not sometimes.
Well, you still have to set up for the hour
Yeah.
you're going to be gone. So you're
Right.
still like hustling into these steps. You're still doing the darn things.
Yeah.
You might not be the one acting them out, but you're still mindfully in that.
Yeah.
And right now, like it's, my daughter has separation anxiety. So she knows like when I'm supposed to be home. And so she will FaceTime me constantly. I feel guilty. I feel horrible getting my cuts all cut and fixed up, because she's FaceTiming me. Jennifer, come home. It's that guilt of not being home. It's hard.
Yeah, it really is. I agree. I always feel guilty too when I'm going out, unless I'm at a restaurant. It's fine. Then I'm like,
I can just picture Tabs like shoes off, sitting crisscross applesauce, like come to mama.
oh my
You
gosh.
just asked me if I need some more bread, sir.
Yes. And I've always loved, even in my 20s, to go eat by myself. Like I just like to go to a restaurant by myself.
I love it by myself.
Oh, it's so great. Oh, it's so lovely. They just bring you your food. You can read or
You don't
do
have to talk to
whatever.
anyone.
People watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to talk to anyone. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I'm
So-
like a big movie nerd, and I will go to movies by myself,
Oh,
and I love it. I'm like a huge movie nerd, like so much that like I love it so much because it's like me in the movie having this experience, and I don't have to worry about anyone. Like I like love it, and people always think I'm so weird for that. They're like, "You just go by yourself." I'm like, "Yeah."
Do you get
It's
popcorn?
so funny because Neil used to do that.
Jen,
And I would never do that. Like I would feel so weird.
I need to know, Jamie, do you get popcorn?
I usually go to like one of those dining theaters.
Oh,
and
even
I get
better.
yes.
Even
you do.
better.
But I'm
The-
so, you guys like I cry, like I'm in the corner, that weird lady, like
Put their popcorn or nachos and her Dr. Pepper.
yeah,
Love that.
that's so awesome.
I want to
like,
go to and not go to a movie with you that way. Like we can just
I just
wave at
want
each
something
other
to
from the
snack.
other corner. Yeah.
I sit like I love credits. I'm so weird. I just love it.
Oh, Jamie, I love you
I
so
sit
much.
through the credits. The lady that comes in by herself, and then that poor kid that has to go sweep the theater. He's like, this weird lady sitting by herself.
She's still here.
She's still crying.
She's still crying.
Well, I'm obsessed with the trailers. That's
Oh,
like
yeah.
one of my favorite parts of the movie sometimes. And I can
always-
always tell by the trailers if I'm gonna like the movie or not. Almost always. It's like a 9 out of 10 thing. It's like so weird.
I always say that
I'm losing confidence in this movie and it hasn't even started yet.
the trailer and the credits are usually the best part of a movie.
Yeah, my husband loves the trailers too. He's like, we're gonna be late. We can't watch the previews. I'm like, who cares? We're not going to see the previews.
All the anticipation, all the good parts are in the trailers. You're just
Yes.
disappointed when you see the actual movie.
Then you
I
gotta
know.
walk through it dark and try to find somewhere to sit, and you're carrying all your snacks, and that's a lot of you gotta have your snacks.
You
I
got to
love
go with the
Girl, I don't
theater
know
with
when
the
you've been to a
waiter.
movie last, but there is a lot going on there now that is more geared to put your butt in a chair and just let the people come to you. Like it's like Tab's dream and
We only
Jamie's
have
descriptions.
one theater like that kind of.
Yeah.
We don't have.
We don't have a lot like that either. We have theaters that have like different seating where you can access that stuff, but we don't. None that I know of. I mean, maybe we do, but
We have
Come
so
hang out
many.
with me. I'll
We
take
have
you to all the best.
So many of those too. Dine-in theaters, they're the best. Give me those
Yeah.
nachos. You're right about the nachos. Load me up with the nachos.
Those nachos.
Garlic
Any movie's
fries.
better
Sour
with the
candies
big
and some
hot
popcorn.
cheese
It's a
crunch.
nice mix. If it's sour candies, popcorn, and nachos, it's a
Yes.
perfect combo.
Yes.
Love it. Love it.
I do
Well,
the popcorn with extra butter, and then I put the candy in the popcorn. That's the best.
Trail mix candy, popcorn
Yeah,
candy.
you do like
Popcorn
M&Ms or
candy.
Raisinets are the best ones because they like kind of melt in with the butter.
Oh my God.
My
The
dad used
butter?
to do that.
Follow us for
Butter.
more theater food, Jen.
yeah.
Yeah.
As you
Like
can
Kat
tell,
said,
we all
movie
love
theater.
to eat as a form of self-care. We like to put things in our mouth.
I mean, that is got to be a blooper. Just to reiterate, I'm sorry, lawyer. Did you say
For yourself, Tabitha.
for
We're
self-care,
talking
you put something in your mouth?
about food here,
Ow.
people, such as Raisinets.
Yeah,
Chocolate.
that is
Melty
not
chocolate
self-care, Rachel. I
Raisinets
don't know
with
where your
hot
mind's
butter
going.
sauce.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Well, self-care. There it is.
On that note,
On that note, this is how we do it. Or
this is
don't do
how
it.
we do it.
Give us some tips on self-care. Feel free to reach out to us. If you think self-care is ridiculous, send us a note. If you have some ideas on how we should change our mindset on the self-care, please let us know.
If you have
episode-
anything we should add to the next hot butter popcorn,
yes.
Let us
also,
know.
let us know.
Also, let
And
us
Jen's
know.
still taking husband applications. That would help with the
Yes,
self-care.
yes. Please.
Yeah. Join us for episode 4, where we're going to talk about work. Choose to work or not to work. Was it a choice? See you next time.
Bye.
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 Thank you for joining us at the table for episode 3 of our second series, The Mixtape of Us. Make sure to join us for episode 4, Work. Why did you choose to work or stay at home? Or was it a choice at all? If you'd like to join in on the conversation, make sure to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Table for 5 podcast. See you soon.